to try and keep the car on track and bring it home. And how would you approach a sort of endurance race? I mean, as you said, you've done one at Fuji, so what was your mentality going into it?
You've just got to make sure you've got everything prepared. Make sure you've got a drink beside you, for example. Make sure you can focus. I was actually listening to music throughout just to keep my concentration levels up, because otherwise my mind sort of wanders a little bit. You get sort of 2.5 hours in, and it's just one mistake can put you in the wall. So you've just got to think about every single corner. The other thing that was difficult at Fuji was where they won't have so much of a problem. It'll still be a factor. Is traffic, and the different classes, GT1 and GT2, you'll end up with the GT1 cars being quicker than the GT2 cars, and at some point they will come through to lap them, and it's all about the communication between the drivers. If you come up to a back marker, it's all about the communication, making it obvious what you're going to do, and the back marker makes it obvious what he's going to do, and if you can do that, then you'll survive. But it's just that the problem is with racing of any kind. It's just one mistake can end your race, and it's not like tennis, for example, where you make one mistake, you move on to the next point. In racing and in sim racing as well, it's one mistake and you're out.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially with a track as demanding as this as well. If you get towards the end of a race, with just 20 minutes or so left, it can be so disheartening for not only a driver but for a whole team as well, if you just end up putting the car on the wall by just a simple mistake, if it's just taking too much apex or losing the back end into a corner or not even focusing enough, maybe just a lapse of concentration, and it can just honestly ruin the relationship between a driver and a team after going through so much.
Yeah, normally people are pretty forgiving, you'd hope that they are, but especially if you've just done 6 hours of driving, for example, and you give the car to someone, and then 2 or 3 minutes later they've wrecked it. It's so disheartening. It really is. It's but one of those things that can sometimes be unavoidable. Sunfleth is coming towards the carousel. Let's have a look, see whether he uses the banking. We saw Stoffel Van Dorn going around the outside, and Sunfleth does use the banking. Look at that shot, it's such a good shot.
Yep, so Frank's over halfway through his lap now then, as he will approach the very far section of the track and end up towards the carousel. And you just see that this amount of depth in the corners of how much the car dips and then comes back up again, and it really is frightening to try and drive those speeds while experiencing that as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to try and build the Nürburgring these days, you just wouldn't be allowed to on safety grounds. And that's one of my favourites. It's a quote by Jackie Stewart. He was saying that just one lap of the Nürburgring, and it scared him more than any other lap that he's ever done in his entire life. And it's relentless. It's the only word for the Nürburgring. It's just corner after corner after corner after corner, and it's commonly known as the Green Hell, and you can see why.
Yeah, bit too much curve there for Frank, but apart from that, he's handling the situation very well. And as you said, it is corner after corner. It's a good 8 minutes of non-stop focus, and until you get to that straight, you've got to pretty much be 110% focused, making sure you hit every apex at the exact point you need to be to try and compete a fast lap.
And make sure your car's straight over the slight jumps that come through. Sunfleth did that section very well indeed, but you can be slightly sideways and you lose the back end and you're toast. You're in the wall, huge damage, and you won't be able to. Well, you might be able to continue, but he comes through the mini carousel. Beautiful line through there. A little bit squirmy under power as well, but he's got through there perfectly. So apart from taking too much curve just once or twice, Sunfleth has done a very good lap as he gets a good exit onto the back straight. Brilliant. So let's watch him as he comes down this exceptionally long straight, and there's a left-hander at the end of this, but it's still flat out, and it's well over 20 seconds of full throttle, and I think it might be nearer 30 actually in these cars. And it's like Le Mans, isn't it? It's like the Mulsanne Straight, or the Honduras Straight. It's you get through most of the lap, you get to the straight, and you can just sort of relax a little bit and take a breather.
And I think that's what the track needed. If it didn't have that track, I don't think the drivers would like it as much because, I mean, you just need that sort of break for focusing that long. You know, you think that's a good 3 or 4 laps around any other, Grand Prix circuit, and to just try and just take that break for a sec, maybe check your car stats or get a sip of the drink, if you're in clean air, it just needed, because otherwise it'll be flat out non-stop concentration for so long, and it would just take such a toll on the drivers. But, this is one of the most legendary circuits in the world, and it lives up to its name every year.
Absolutely, and Sunflare crosses the line and goes fourth with a 56.7, and in yesterday's, in the previous qualifying session's time, that would have put him in sixth position overall. So you can see the times are pretty similar actually from the previous qualifying session.
Yeah, and there's a bit of inside information which could come in helpful during the race. There is a bit of team cooperation between Kona Motorsport and MB Racing, so always handy to have allies as opposed to enemies, and that can be pretty handy during the race.
Yeah, it's any collaboration, be it setup, be it just being on the same TeamSpeak channel, even for communication purposes, it's absolutely vital, and can really help. For example, lapping. I was on about lapping earlier, and if you can make sure you've got the communication there, then you can pretty much survive okay.
Yep, and of course, I mean, KM Motorsport, KMB Racing, actually racing the USA Championship for the Le Mans Series, so, they're no strangers to endurance racing, so for them, they'll feel well at home in these cars, but on the track, maybe not. We'll be yet to see that, but, right now, I mean, any cooperation's good, as you said, and I think it's just better to have that as opposed to enemies, because you don't want to be trying to come up to a rival on track and pass him for the fear of him putting you in the wall.
Definitely not right.